Hello, how are y'all doing? What is the story? It's been a mad 4 weeks, and I wanted to connect back in with the Gym+Coffee community to kind of give you an update on where we're going with Marathon Mine and how it's going, how our four guys are getting on, and how the general public are getting on with this training. It is now getting into the kind of business end of the miles for training. We're up to now 10 miles, which is starting to push it, especially in this heat. I think the weather has changed quite dramatically since we've started the training, and the weather has such a huge impact on your training, good and bad. Like, it's lovely to run in nice weather, don't get me wrong, but you have to be really wary of what it does to your physiological body and to your head. So when you start to overheat, which is happening to a lot of people because it is 20 odd degrees and it's quite humid, so it's hard to breathe properly sometimes. And what I'm noticing is a lot of people are saying that runs they found easy a few weeks ago they're finding difficult now, and they think they're getting less fit. But the reality is that's not the case at all. They're just not being aware of things like hydration, salt, recovery, food, sleep, all these really crucial components of marathon training. And in summer, you have to be hyper aware of your hydration. And a lot of people are doing the longer miles and they're not drinking water whatsoever on the run, and that's a problem. You need to be drinking it. If you're up to 10 miles and you're drinking no water in that period and you're losing that amount of water and salt, you need to be replenishing it. And a lot of people do it on the run. They kind of stop and then drink a litre of water, and then they can't run because their belly feels full of water. So what I've done with the running is I bought myself just a kind of a water, a kind of bag with the water in it. Looks a little bit ridiculous, but it's so handy just to sip at water while you're running these bigger distances. So we've had to change how we look at our training. And if you're doing this marathon mind journey, you have to change how you're training now to appease the weather. If you look at any kind of athletes who before say things like the Olympics and they go to warm weather training, it's a totally different kind of when it's not totally different, but you actually have to be really kind of aware of hydration and food and recovery. And also what's happening to some people is they're doing their long runs and they're not eating within half an hour, which is such a crucial thing when you're starting to do bigger miles. So if you're doing the kind of longer miles now, I find it difficult to eat after a long run. I don't feel great sometimes. It's so crucial within that half an hour window that you're putting food into yourself. And it's like I've seen people who have protein bars. Protein bars are no good to you when you're doing big miles, or you need carbohydrates, and you need them fast, and you need really simple carbohydrates like sugar and bagels and stuff like that half an hour after you do your run. You got to get it into that window, and then ultimately hopefully have food later on, like a dinner in an hour and a half or 2 hours after that. The other thing you got to look at is sleep. Sleep becomes really crucial, and your patterns of sleep. So trying as best you can, even if you don't sleep, getting to bed at the same time every night. So this is where recovery becomes part of the discipline of marathon training. At the start, when you're doing 5, 6, 7K, you'll hustle that all the time. You'll be fine, and you might feel a bit sluggish in some of your runs. But once you come up the distances, you need to get these things right. And people then say that's a lot of things to do. It really isn't. It's very simple. Long run, make sure you eat within half an hour. Long run, make sure you hydrate during the run, and maybe having nutrition. Get used to taking nutrition, because you will not do a marathon unless you're taking nutrition on board during the race. And that for me is every 5-6 kilometers, I have a bar or a gel. I have to, or else my blood sugars drop too much. And once that happens, it's game over. So you got to be really aware of that. Keep getting used to feeling what it feels like to put food in your belly while you're running. So don't kind of go through this whole journey and don't practice that, and then come to the day of the marathon and try to eat while you're running, because you just won't be used to it. So kind of train the way you're going to do the marathon. Obviously, you don't have to in the marathon. You'll be taking quite a lot of gels and bars or whatever, or sugar or Coke or Lucozade Sport, whatever it is. But in training, get used to the idea of just getting some of that on board. It's really important. So that's where we're at with the running now. And the thing about it is, things like gyms are opening up. People can change their training if they want. They can go to the gyms. But like for me, running is just something you will always be able to do no matter what happens. They're not closing the roads. So it's a great thing to have. As I said, some of you might want to do the marathon and you're just training for it. But as we go through summer, as we aim towards November, where the marathon is going to kick off, there's a lot of work there. And there's a lot of training. I'm kind of up to 30 kilometers now, and it's tough. It is tough to do it. It's tough to get them in. It's tough to get the recovery right. But it's doable. It's absolutely doable, but it's not easy. And I think a lot of people now on in some of them the Gym+Coffee community and the Marathon Mind community are kind of saying, Jesus, this is hard. I'm like, but it's a marathon. We never said at the start it was easy. We said you're capable of it. And we're all capable of incredible things. We really are. We all have that ability and power. But it isn't simple. It won't be handed to us. We've no entitlement to do this. You got to work for it. You got to sacrifice a few things. You got to commit your head and your body. You can't just kind of go, well, this is too tough. I don't want to do it. Or this shouldn't be as tough as it is. It is tough. And so are many other things that we deal with in life, like pandemics, like relationship issues, like stress, like financial issues. These are all things that get thrown at us in any given week, month, or year. And we need to learn how to cope with them. And this is no different than marathon. There's going to be parts of this you really don't enjoy. And there's going to be parts that are exhilarating and incredibly exciting. And that's just normal. But it isn't easy. And we have created a modern culture where we have an element of self-entitlement. We believe we should have everything straight away. It should just be handed to us. I don't really want to work for that because I can get it straight away. And that instant gratification, validation, constant thing that we've created in our modern culture goes against training for endurance training, because there's nobody can give you this. Nobody can hand you this. Nobody can go, listen, you'll be grand, I'll help you. You got to do it yourself. You can be guided and you can be supported, but you got to do the work. So that's the thing with endurance training that I always think is really, really kind of connected to mental health and emotional well-being. In emotional well-being and mental health, nothing's going to change for you unless you actually do something and actually you work with it. There's no big moment. It has to be worked on. And that is my fear with modern culture, is that it's become so, I just want it now. I want it now, and that's it. That's not going to happen here. And I think that's really important to understand. But when you finish and cross that line, it's a hell of a lot more powerful then. Also this month, I went down to meet Marion and Danny in Cork, and it was really important for me to do. If you're following the journey, Marion's story and Danny's story is pretty incredible and difficult and overwhelming, if I'm being honest, in some situations. And being in their home made this all very real for me. So I was like, wow, I'm in the home where these stories were told. Marion losing her amazing partner, and Danny losing his father and his brother. And it became very real that this moved from Zoom, where we met everybody, to being in their houses, talking with their families, seeing what they're doing, what they went through, and how important this journey is becoming to them. It gave me huge sense of responsibility, but it's responsibility I'm very comfortable with, and so are the rest of the Marathon Mind coaches. We know what to do. We know how to do it. It took us a few months to gain trust, and we had to go down and meet them and chat with them, because you can't really gain trust over Zoom. You just can't. Human connection is far more powerful than Zoom or any other stuff that we've been bombarded with this year. But yeah, it's really made this very real. I can see them crossing the finish line. I can see what it's going to mean to them. I can see Marion was injured. She had a hamstring strain and she was a bit, thrown by that, but she dealt with it really, really well. And that ultimately is what will happen. You will all get injured at some stage. It's how you react to the injury that will get you back from that injury and allow you to do this marathon. So that's where we're at. I hope you're all doing well in your training. Connect with us on social media. Marathon Mind Official on Facebook and Instagram. Let us know how you're getting on. Let us know how the longer runs are going. I hope the run communities are building up, and the running clubs, wherever you are, Australia, UK, Ireland, America, wherever, keep supporting each other through, because peer-to-peer support will be one of the most crucial elements of success for this. So thanks a million, and I'll chat to you next month.